I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this insane clip where I shoot for what seems like a millennia without needing to reload. Heck, I've used it in past videos talking about the absurdity of the Renegades heat weapons. But what about the weapon itself in this clip? Well, it's god tier. But what if I told you the roll you're seeing in this absurd clip, in my opinion, isn't even the best god roll it can get? Well, let's take a closer look at it. What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Gakis, and today we're going to be showcasing a new god tier weapon added to Destiny 2 in Renegades, which is not uncommon because of the new heat weapons, which are literally just better than their other legendary counterparts. I mean, they do more damage, they have a perfect reload mechanism, all that stuff. Well, there's been a lot of new god tier weapons with Renegades, but one of them, the one we're focusing on today, is going to be the Bitter End Machine Gun. This thing is actually insane, and it can do things that no other machine gun can do. In fact, every other machine gun wishes it could do these things. And so let's take a look at the god rolls, yes, plural, it can get. And so let's get started. So, the Bitter End comes from the new Equilibrium dungeon, and remember guys, if you complete the Equilibrium dungeon quest, guide to said quest linked right up above, you unlock the ability to attune the weapons or armor. So it's much easier to farm the Equilibrium dungeon weapon god rolls compared to past dungeon weapons. Now, more specifically for the Bitter End, this is the first and only heat machine gun in the entire game. Specifically, it's a balanced heat weapon. Now, the RPM rounds per minute is 900, which is more comparable with other 900 RPM machine guns. But being a balanced heat weapon means that it is going to shoot and shoot and shoot, and you actually have the perfect reload mechanic near the very end. So once I get past that little line, then I can do a much faster reload compared to if I shoot it again and just let it overheat, you're going to have, again, a much longer reload animation. Much longer. It is not skippable as well. Keep in mind, however, that you can reload at any time. If I'm halfway through, I can just hit the reload button and vent. And this vent is going to be quicker than the overload, but not as fast as the perfect reload animation. So let's actually compare that with another machine gun here, the Hammerhead. Like, let's take a look at what happens if I, have to reload my Hammerhead. By the way, there's no need to, fully expend the magazine. I just need to reload, and I get this animation. I'm stuck in this animation, and finally I can shoot again. Like that's actually pretty long compared to if we switch to the Bitter End. Again, you can reload at any time, so I have a fast reload and I'm back to here. If I just shoot a little bit and I want to do a really quick reload, I'm back to 0. So you can really manipulate the heat reload mechanics and use those to your massive advantage, right? Like, after shooting every single round of this Bitter End, if I hit that perfect reload, I am going to reload much faster than a normal machine gun, right? But as for the perks, these are all of the perks it can get courtesy of Light.gg. More specifically, the clip you saw at the beginning of the video that really pops off with the Bitter End involves this perk here, Trickle Charge. Receiving or discharging bolt charge partially loads an improved quantity of the magazine from reserves. And so, what that means is if we use the ultimate bolt charge ability, which is the Titan Rally Barricade, Storm's Keep Barricade on Arc, I can shoot, and every single time I trigger a bolt charge lightning bolt, it just fully reloads my magazine. Now remember, guys, you can actually do this with other bolt charge type abilities, right? It doesn't have to be the Storm's Keep for the Titan. A great example is that, well, on the Bitter End itself, it can actually get Rolling Storm. So if I was to use Rolling Storm, which gives me bolt charge for getting final blows, combined with Trickle Charge, that should partially reload the magazine. Or, for example, if I'm on an Arc Warlock where you are gaining and discharging a lot of bolt charge for using your abilities, again, Trickle Charge is going to be very good there. So what should you actually use with trickle charge? Like, what actually does the most damage? Well, there's two different options of perks for the bitter end that are going to improve the damage without requiring something first. So right here, one for all. Like, if we're going for the Omega trickle charge, shoot a bungillion rounds in a row roll, we don't want one for all. That's too much setup, right? We want to be able to lay into a boss and just do bonus damage. So the first option is jolting feedback. So you're going to apply a jolt, right, when you do continuous damage to a target, which, as you can imagine, we're doing a lot of continuous damage. So let's set up the DPS test for that roll right now. So against this target frame, I'm just going to start shooting, and I'm going to continue to shoot basically until I actually run out of ammo. And we're going to see how much total damage we do. Notice the target frame is slowly getting further and further away simply because I'm shooting so many rounds the game like basically doesn't know how to handle this. All right, so I'm about to overheat, and we've done 26,000 damage with 1,000 DPS, almost 27,000 damage. That's crazy. So what about the alternative option here? Well, that is going to be Frenzy. Being in combat for an extended period of time just straight up increases the damage. So what do we actually do with Frenzy here? All right, we reset the test. We're going to start Frenzy from scratch here. So we're not going to start with a full Frenzy already triggered. So Frenzy is going to trigger in a few seconds here. There it is. And I'm just going to keep shooting again until we actually finally need to reload. And there it is. All right, so 24,000 damage. So notable increase from actually having those extra jolts from jolting feedback. However, I do also want to test what if I already had Frenzy triggered because I'm just in combat, right? All right, Frenzy's triggered. And let's do another test here with Frenzy actually active from the rip. And there we go. 26,000. So much, much closer. Still not actually at the same level as jolting feedback. So if you do want the Omega trickle charge to shoot a bungillion rounds, go with jolting feedback. Now again, like I said, this is not the only god roll. I think definitely trickle charge is involved in one of the god rolls. If you want to use it with the Storm's Keep Titan, absolutely phenomenal. Like, I mean, you're seeing just how many rounds you can shoot. Keep in mind also, if you're using the Titan, you have stuff like the Actium War Rig, which will increase the damage even more. Now it's increasing the damage on kills, but still, like, you can use this combined with your Storm's Keep aspect and just pop off with this machine gun. Truly outrageous what you can do there. But again, there's another god roll here, and that is actually going to be involving a different perk. Specifically, it's involving cooling baubles. Collecting an elemental pickup or orb of power reduces slightly more heat. Cooling baubles is actually crazy with this weapon. Why? Because it is so easy to trigger cooling baubles. And here's a great example. I'm going to throw my grenade and then just start shooting, and boom, boom. Just got reloaded there. What happened? Well, it's actually those ionic traces from my grenade. And so, yes, the elemental effects are actually crazy, especially, again, ionic traces like come to you. So I'm in the middle of shooting. Oh, I'm going to get heated up. Nope, I'm all the way. Look at that. I'm literally regened. Another one that just spawned. Look, another one. Ready? Boom, got it. So that is actually insane. And cooling baubles, again, just because, and I just did it again. Like, look at this, guys. Look at the extension of the magazine, right? And that, in my opinion, is much easier to trigger in normal gameplay than trickle charge. You just put on harmonic siphon, boom. Now I am spawning orbs of power from my machine gun. If I pick up those orbs of power, it will have the same effect as those ionic traces, right? But again, there's so many different elemental effects that you're able to spawn here. With ionic traces, they come to you. It's absurd, right? If you go to stasis, the sheer amount of elemental pickups in the form of those stasis shards are crazy. So I'm going to shoot. Look at this. Look at these stasis shards. I'm going to keep shooting there. Here they come. Right? Like, I'm going to blow this up. I'm going to get another shard here. Ready? boom. Like, again, so many different builds have unbelievably common ways to spawn these elemental pickups, and the fact that cooling baubles triggers on elemental pickups is crazy. So what do we do with a massively extended magazine? Well, unlike the first roll I showed you with trickle charge, where you can just use it with your Titan Rally Barricade, Stormscape Barricade, and just go to town, like it's kind of the DPS roll. So again, you want jolting feedback, you want frenzy. With cooling baubles, man, you got killing tally. Final blows increases the weapon's damage until it is stowed, or reload improves magazine size as well. Yes, so when we have killing tally machine guns, these are some of the best machine guns in the entire game. And normally in this left column, we have stuff like 4th times the charm. We have stuff like reconstruction. We have ways to extend the magazine because the damage bonus you get from killing tally is permanent, right? So if I get a kill, I have that killing tally damage bonus up the whole time. It's never ever going to go away, right? And so I can get up to ×3, and that is a significant like 30% damage bonus that I just have up. But the problem is that as soon as you need to reload, the damage bonus goes away. Well, again, if I'm making infinity elemental creations here, right? I never need to reload. Like, I just get to keep shooting and shooting and shooting. And so killing tally always stays up. Now, on if this perk was on a normal machine gun, it would be god tier. But the fact that it's on this specific machine gun, you know, like a heat weapon, means that because it's a heat weapon, it has a massively extended magazine anyways, right? Like, you get to shoot hundreds of rounds before you need to reload. Compared to a normal magazine, you're looking at around 75 often, right? So you already get a massively increased magazine size just on the virtue of this being a machine gun. And then every time you come across, you know, an elemental pickup or a orb of power, you're essentially reducing that magazine down to 0 again. You get to shoot those 100 rounds again. So killing tally cooling baubles is, I think, if you want to use this as a normal like ad clearing machine gun, I think that is probably the best god roll to get. Now, that also would, I think, include if you have cooling baubles, one for all is also amazing, right? Or this one, cooling baubles and jolting feedback. Because then what you're able to do with that is, if you are on arc, we have an example here, is that defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. Well, that means that now I'm going to actually spawn my elemental pickup for cooling baubles much more often just by, and here it is. And here it is. You know what I mean? Like, there you go. So I'm spawning, because of the jolts, I'm spawning those ionic traces. So that's another unbelievably powerful roll you should absolutely consider. It's not going to be as consistent for increasing the damage as killing tally. Killing tally is going to be unreal, but man, jolting feedback is going to be good. Don't forget, you could also use frenzy as well. We have multiple, literally god tier machine gun perks at your disposal. And frankly, I think those are the best rolls. It is going to be cooling baubles or trickle charge, plus the right column perks I've already talked about. Again, there is a shout out for rolling storm. If you have rolling storm plus trickle charge, that is a very cool combo as well. You kind of do have to be playing arc, leaning much more into arc synergies. I would say even with trickle charge, you have to be more into arc, but I'm telling you guys, hey, cooling baubles plus killing tally, you don't need to be arc. Again, I showed it off with stasis. If you're using solar fire sprites, if you're prismatic, I mean, you're able to spawn so many different elemental effects. I mean, and if you're ignoring elemental effects altogether, orbs of power will trigger it as well. And that's what a lot of you've been seeing in the background gameplay. I'm on my warlock, just absolutely gunning guys down, just relying on the orbs I'm getting from my arc buddy. So truly insane machine gun. One of the best in the game for just keeping that magazine up constantly, and then combining that with these insane damage increasing perks like killing tally that reward you for keeping your magazine up. So crazy weapon, 100% worth going after, 100% worth getting. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus, as linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.